Echoes of Color.
Hello, and you're welcome to Echoes of Colors. Today, we're going to be talking about issues to do with the legal perspective and the context in Nigeria having to do with sexual minorities within the space, and also talk about government policies that, either regulate, criminalize, or prohibit certain activities. It's not news that queer persons within the Nigerian space are deemed illegal or invalid or seen as criminals within the space. But at this junction, we're going to be dissecting these issues. I know they're uncomfortable conversations, but at some point, we need to have them. Today, I have two special guests here with me who are going to be talking about these issues within or around their own expert knowledge. I have here with me Justin Chidozie. Justin Chidozie is the co-executive director at CHEVS, and he's a human rights activist. And today he's going to be talking about his experience and all that he has been through engaging government policies and other relevant stakeholders within the space. Secondly, we have Barrister Chika Igwe. Barrister Chika Igwe has had over 8 years experience of practice and has delved into different and all kinds of cases, some which have to do with sexual minorities here in Nigeria. And he's going to be talking to us today about his experiences and how the legal system has handled or managed sexual minorities in Nigeria. You're welcome, guys. How are you today?
Thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm going to start with you, Barrister Chika. We understand that there's so many issues to do with sexual minorities in Nigeria, but what are those most impactful laws that one needs to watch out for when it comes to minority issues in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you for having me your program. Basically, if you're considering the laws, the basic laws to have a perspective, first we have the SSMPA, Substance Prohibition Act 2013. Then we have the pre-colonial laws like the Penal Code applicable in northern Nigeria, the Criminal Code law applicable in southern Nigeria. We have the Sharia law applicable in at least 12 states in the core northern Nigeria state, including Niger State. Then we have the Armed Forces Act, which prohibits same-sex practice. We have other policies that doesn't really, give space for same-sex practice to thrive in Nigeria. These are the basic laws. Then we'll also consider the constitution of the country with respect to fundamental human rights and some international treaties and protocols, where we have the African Charter of Human and People's Rights, the Resolution 275, the Maputo Protocols, the CEDAW, and so many other relevant laws we'll be looking at.
Great, thank you. Justin, you are a human rights activist and you've engaged within various spaces. How have you or how has it been channeling all of this in spaces, forums and platforms with the attention that we have laws that prohibit persons within the space?
So I like to think that it's my advocacy. I like to approach it from a place of people are humans, and there are certain things the government shouldn't just do because they are government. The government, for example, are tasked with the responsibility to protect, safeguard, and make sure that every citizen of a country thrives. And the government shouldn't be in charge of regulating what happens in people's bedroom or what happens in people's bodies, which is the crux of why I do the advocacy work. And from my viewpoint as well, it's been very difficult because a lot of people in the society now acts on the crux of these laws, in the sense that we don't even need to know what this law says. We don't even need to know what the provision of these laws are before we decide to act on them, right? Every Nigerian understands that, gayness is criminalized in Nigeria, or being queer, a queer person is criminalized in Nigeria, and they don't know to what extent the law, how far-reaching the law is. They just know this is criminalized, and then they begin to act, because that is what happens when the government endorses public violence with legislation like the SSMPA that my colleague Chika mentioned. So we see that even though the law has not criminalized the existence of queer people, we see people being attacked every day for just being queer and just existing in the country. So, yeah.
Great. Barrister Chika, so you're a practicing lawyer, right? And I understand that you've worked with some or certain non-government organizations in resolving cases to do with conflict with government and persons based on their sexuality. What have your experiences been like so far? Could you share one or two cases for us or anything particular?
Basically, for me, it's amazing. Like, I see it as a humanitarian work to do. It has to do with human rights, human feelings, and human welfare. But the experience generally is never funny. For instance, there was a case I did at Uke police station in Nasarawa State, and it was so funny. Police. In fact, I was at that station for like 2-3 days. At the point, they were calling me poor lawyer. This is a humble lawyer. They were trying to monitor my walking steps, to know if they can read any poorness in me, to conclude I could be one of them. So the experience is never funny. There's this high level of discrimination in the society with respect to queer people. So society naturally don't like queer people. They think it is demonic, it is evil, they're abnormal, even though they might have them in their families. And there's this level of that deep hate, even in the court system. There was a case we did at a day upper area court, and the man was brought to court. Usually, the criminal system setting, they read the charge or FIR, and you take your plea. But what the Constitution says is that anybody who is being accused of any criminal offense is deemed innocent until proven guilty. So at the point of bringing him to the court, he's innocent until the necessary evidence are laid beyond reasonable doubt. Then the court can determine if he's guilty or not. And a judge is an unbiased empire. Judges are meant to be neutral. They don't take side, because the litigant didn't brief them. So, but in this case, the judge took side even before going into the substance of the case. And the man was he was not even granted bail. He was sent to remand for 6 months. To the point that, at a point, no lawyer wanted to defend him. Now, there's this hate, among the legal cycle. Lawyers are not interested in defending queer people. They think it's abnormal. I've had a case, and I brought up because I wanted to report the case to NBA because some persons were detained for 2 weeks. They were caught in the so-called queer practice, according to them. So they detained them for 2 weeks, and they couldn't grant them. So I wanted to report to possibly NBA to reach out to the state PRO to get them out. And my colleagues were like, "Are you okay? Why are we defend sorting? Let them die there. They should rot in jail." So it's a pity. So working, the court system, the legal system, it's never be easy. And there's also exploitation by the state actors. Now, once is a queer-related case. Police and these state actors have had a lot of, communication and interaction with the NGOs and the civil society organizations in this space. They understand that they were meant to be liberal in cases like this, but they see it as a way of making money. So this is an offense that doesn't have a victim most times. So you are being accused, you're also the victim at the same time. But police want to exploit you. I've done a case at Maraba police station because a landlady was accusing this client of being queer and bringing people who are effeminate to the building. And I wrote a petition against the woman to the police to arrest and investigate the woman. So at the police station, they turned the petition against her and even detained me. Oh my God, why would I defend such a person? Obviously, I was trying to make case with them at the police station. They said, okay, to flex their muscle, they have to detain me. These are crazy scenarios. Obviously, they raised me as well.
So basically, the petition didn't fly.
The petition didn't fly, but I had the notion of going to the court because in Nasarawa State jurisdiction, I can prosecute in a criminal matter. I can file a direct criminal complaint, get the woman arrested, take her to the court and prosecute her. But another issue is when you had most of our clients at a point don't really want to proceed with the cases. So these victims at times don't want to come out. They're afraid of societal backlash, the shame, the disgrace. Most of the blackmailers might have a video of you. They can make up story. So the victims most times don't want publicity. So he just wanted the case to end at the police station. Because we're ready to fight for justice, but the victims most times don't want to talk or come up with we need to fight for their rights. These are numerous challenges we have in this sector.
So would you say because this individual was perceived to be gay, the petition didn't fly, or was there any other legality around that issue that caused that petition to fall through?
Okay, basically, because he was perceived to be gay, seriously, he was perceived to be gay. Go wrote a petition that this woman alleged that our client is gay. He brings people to the house to sleep with them. So, investigator, for me, is more like a character assassination, criminal defamation of character. Investigate this woman, take her to court. So she went there and she played the sympathy game, widow girl, all those things, roll on the ground, cry, trying to call people. You know, even at the police station, once you are armed with your law, it doesn't take anything to quote the law to the DPO. You can shout on top of your voice and tell him this is not what your law says. You must do this. So most time police feel challenged when you confront them at their stations. You might want to flex power, but as a practicing lawyer, I went to human rights activism. We have access to their superiors and the rest of them. So you can shout.
But at the end of the day, did the client have to leave the house, or what was the resolution around that case?
See, the summary was that first, just exhaust the tenancy, but you must pack up. You have to leave there. But inconvenient for him any longer. Because he's about his safety. He's living in a street where they can turn the streets against it. And they could say terrible things. He can't even, they can't hold this cell. Like, passing by, people are making terrible comments about you. So he had to exhaust his tenancy and he left the place immediately.
Oh my God, that's so sad.
Can't ask him not to bring people to his house.
Yes,
He's an adult.
exactly.
And also, this is the same thing that happens when we bring in bias into the justice system.
Yes.
Right? Based on our constitution, human rights is for all citizens, everyone who is a Nigerian citizen. Human rights is, in fact, for all human, by the virtue of inalienability, right? You see, you go to a court and instead of the judge to just work on the case or rule the case based on evidence brought, they're already like biased again. So you see, there is no coming back from this kind of situation where people don't do their job because there is a bias like around their work. This is why also a lot of people, not just queer people, a lot of sexual minority groups do not have like trust to complain about rape or sexual assault, right? In cases where you have been accused of something, you're the one to bring evidence to say that your
so drive your
body
case
of proof is on
on you.
But now, in situations of women and queer people, when you come up to say something has been done to you, you have to still be the ones to keep proving
That you've not.
that this is what happened to me, right? The same thing with women. So we see how it's not just an issue of whether laws exist or not. It's even though today you pass a law, South Africa is a very good context on what I'm about to say. No matter the amount of progressive laws in South Africa, there's still a lot of violence against queer people.
Exactly.
So we see that it's not just about the laws. That why we're also talking about the laws, we're also talking about the public perception and the kind of misinformation about queer people.
True.
Every time we've heard a case of a queer person trying to seek redress for what happens to them, they always try to turn it into a case of pedophilia. And these are not the same conversations.
Exactly.
Right.
It's totally
Want
different.
to like say, oh, the person is like one time I was like in the courts to listen to one of these cases. I was seeing this old man that they said is 17.
17.
And I was looking at myself, I'm like, okay, 17. So you see, it's a lot of lies and muddled up. These cases end up being muddled up in judicial technicalities and all of that. So where do we really go from here, where people don't have trust to say, I was blackmailed or I am being blackmailed, I'm going to the police to report. Then they get to the police and then it's turned to, oh, you are gay.
Yeah.
Right? So where do we like draw the line? So it's really terrible.
Okay, so I'll just share like a very short experience. I mean, based on the work that I do as well too. I remember back in what year was it now? When the non-government organizations kind of filed a suit against the Nigerian government on the legality of the Same-Sex Cooperation Act. That was 2014, right? I think they're about 2016 or thereabouts, if I remember. And I was the officer in charge of managing all of the plaintiffs back then. So I had to get in touch with about 35 plaintiffs who were on the case in defense of this or maybe suing in regards to this. the day the court hearing was supposed to hold, none of them was available. And I'm the program officer who is managing the fund and managing the activities. So I had to go for the proceeding. When I got to court, I kept looking around to see if I would know anybody, after somebody who would come and help me out, only for them to call the matter. And they were like, is there any representative? And I got up. The entire courtroom just started laughing. Like, even the judge just started laughing. And they're like, how this game attacking? I'm like, what I'm trying to say basically is that there is, of course, bias within the judicial system. And these people are custodians of the law. They should know above and beyond any other reason that when a case comes to you, even your smile alone kind of connotes where your thinking is lying.
Prejudices.
Exactly. And you need to be non-biased about this situation and handle it based on the laws that existed as the uphold of that law. But Justin, you as somebody who has engaged within the space, I know you went for the last Universal Periodic Review, right? How was that experience like for you?
So there's a whole lot of performance and time government spends to perform that, we are a free and fair state. We are a state of liberty, than they actually put into becoming a state of liberty, right? So at the UN level, the African Commission level, it's always lots of charades, kumbaya, singing together and all of that. So it's always the government coming to say, we have done this. Women's education is at the forefront. Oh, no discrimination. I remember some time ago in one of these UN meetings, one of our Nigerian politicians said, there are no LGBTQI people in Nigeria. And in as much as that is funny, but we know what that means. It means that if you deny the existence of people, that means you don't have to cater to them.
Exactly.
Right? That is what it means verbatim, right? So when you go to places like the UN, Nigeria is always front and center in signing all the treaty, all the agreements we are signatory. We are always, yes, we have signed.
We are the yes man.
We are the yes people. We go to these places. We go to New York. We go to Geneva. We sign all of these treaties from CEDAW to Maputo to all of them. Like, name them. There is no treaty that Nigeria
is not part of.
It's almost not a part of, right? But the problem then lies in, like I said, that's like the whole performance of trying to have good credit, good international credit, right? Which most governments are guilty of. But then the problem then lies in the implementation of all of these treaties, the ratification. Like, you've signed, okay, let's domesticate and let's implement. The last Universal Periodic Review. So it's Universal Periodic Review is the United Nations Human Rights Council Universal Periodic Review for its member states on how they are performing on human rights. So this involves different groups coming to file a shadow report. What a shadow report is, like a brief summary of the landscape of things. You file a shadow report to say, this is where your government is not doing well. This is where they are doing well. So a couple of LGBTQI and human rights organizations and lawyers and civil societies came together to do a shadow report on LGBTQI issues in Nigeria. But when this report was presented and all of it, it's always Nigerians are saying, they have done this, they are doing this. Nobody is being targeted based on their sexuality and their gender identity in the country, blah, 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 blah. Different groups came together some groups sent reports around trafficking, some sent around militarization, like for the North, recruiting of young soldiers, some sent around religious conflicts, some sent around freedom of press and journalists and all of that. We know at the time journalists were disappearing in this country.
Yeah.
Right. So every civil society group came together to write shadow report issues. And sometimes when these issues, when recommendations were being made by the UN member states to Nigerian government, it's always, we note that, noted. We note that. So it's the whole performance.
Yeah,
as what's really heard back to the country. I'm not even sure even the Attorney General who represents Nigeria in this kind of space even follows up. And then in places like New York or Geneva, where these things take place, when activists or civil societies go to this place, you see our ministers and you just see them on the road. They're like, hey, minister, could you talk to them? And they're like, okay, we should follow up, blah, blah. Then come back to the country.
Firsthand, I can actually give you 30 minutes to that.
Emails. there's something they call it. You see these people, all those
The
letters.
protocols that you go to see them.
You will never see that,
Of course.
right? But these are elected and appointed representatives that you should easily have access to. My counterparts, like in the US or in Europe, would tell, "Oh, I just called my representative. I just called them on the phone, and they're like, they would work on it. I'm like here." Ooh. So you see, it's a lot, but again, this is what it is. It's more performance than it is of any. But you cannot say, "Oh, because it's performance, let's stop being in those spaces," because if it wasn't an important space, people would not struggle to be there. Your government would not even struggle to lie
Sure.
about their activity in the first place. So it means that they love the credibility from that space. They love the rep that space gives.
And we don't want to lose face.
And they don't want to lose face. So we should keep on like working within those spaces. If holding them accountable, because if justice is unreachable in country, we have the ICC, we have the African Union Court, we have a lot of those places, and the UN also to go hold them accountable. Like the Natasha Popular case, she didn't get justice here. She went to the Interparliamentarian Council at the UN to talk about her case. Right? So, and that even though she didn't get an outright justice, that has popularized the case, right? And there's
And secure party at safety.
Her safety also, yes.
Because we know what she disappeared. It's a world matter now. It's no longer a national matter.
Exactly.
Great, amazing. I mean, I've also experienced the UPR before, and it's basically the same thing. It was the same noted, understood. We have no intention. The word was witch hunt core persons in Nigeria. Only for us to come back, that was when they start, facing organizations, and people had to start coming up with new ideas and new ways to work. So for somebody, so I'll still get to you, Pastor Chika, but Justin, for somebody who is within the space, you run your activities to ensure the quality of all. There's been this information where organizations are being written by the Corporate Affairs Commission on maybe, would I say, the legality of the activities as regards to core issues and core persons, and sensitization around that issue. Are you aware of this? And if you are, and if not, what are your take on this? Do you think it's something that actually makes sense, or the government is just busy wasting their time?
Both. It doesn't make sense, and they're wasting their time because constitutionally, every group in this country has the right to exist. So far as you're not a terrorist group or you don't engage in fraud.
Exactly.
Right? So you have the right to exist. And even this is why it's important for when government make laws, they should let the agency, there should be resources for the agency to interpret these laws to the general public.
True.
I don't know what our national orientation agencies are doing, all of these parastatals that are being set up. What are they doing? Because now, like I mentioned initially, people think that the SSMPA says gay people should not exist in Nigeria. They should be killed. That's not what the law is saying.
Exactly.
It does not criminalize identity. The law does not say queer people should not exist.
Exactly.
The law is against legal unions. The law is against marriages. The law is against what is it called? Intercourse when you're caught. That's what the law says. And on the part of, although they are at a point, the law criminalized gathering, association, and assembly. It was criminal, right? But now that's part of the law has been broken, right? LGBT people can now register organization, register hotels, register club, do a lot of that. So they need to go update themselves.
Exactly.
The law says, because if they come at any organization to say, "Oh, we are going to shut you down because
you exist,"
the organization, the organization can send them to court.
Like, no,
right?
that section is null and void. Yes.
Right. And this is like a situation. I've forgotten the matter, but I was in court one day, and the prosecution quoted a part of constitution. I've forgotten the law, and the judge was like, "Please do your homework. This law has been struck." So it was like, it's always going to be the same thing where people let their prejudice blind them to actually building a good case, and which is why you've never seen anyone persecuted on the grounds of SSMPA. It's never holds water.
The 57.
Oh, please. Oh, please. It's either they move it to, they start lying that it's disturbing of the
peaceful
whatever the environment, or they charge it under pedophilia, that this person was a younger person, or they just find something, but
or a cult, secret cult.
They call it a cult, but they've never come up to say, "Oh, the SSMPA is what we are using to sue you," right? But again, we have other laws that we say the constitution is supreme in a democratic government, in a constitutional government. So we shouldn't even be having laws in the first place that goes against the provision of our constitution, which is the supreme law. Like the SSNPH should be unconstitutional as far as Nigeria is concerned, right? But I don't know, we find ourselves in a place where a lot of things affect how people reason religion, personal experience, and tradition as well. But then if you bring it under the angle of tradition, it still doesn't hold water. Because a lot of the things that are criminalized today, that we talk about today, that African tradition, are indeed African traditions. Look, from queerness to cross-dressing to what effeminate men to masculine. These people, these behaviors have existed in our culture.
What's that first cross-dresser that was saying nothing in that video?
Area scatter.
Area scatter.
So it's to see that, well, because now people hide their hate under, oh, it's Western, it's white. But a bit of history, right? Before, I've forgotten the exact year, not to quote wrong, but the same year that the British passed the first ever anti-homosexuality law to criminalize same-sex relationship in 18 whatever, was the same year Uganda had a gay king.
Oh, wow.
Right? So you see that this is colonization ripped us of our identity.
And that's fact from the issue.
And that is very fact. You can actually Google it. I've forgotten the year, but you can Google it. Colonization ripped us of our identity as African and our liberty as African, because they saw people living their life freely without government restriction, and they're like, it's like, these people are crazy. They're like living, and like, and it has
come, they're so organized.
Yes, so law and order, and these laws and order requires gender segregation and segmentation. A man must do this, a woman must do this. It is only someone who does not truly know the African history who would say that, oh, these queer people, they are new, because they exist in every family. Like our grandmothers know that uncle who used to behave like a woman, that uncle who never got married, and all of those things. So you see how it's more societal than it is even more legislatively, right? Because if government, like, let them institute 150 SSMPA, if people in the society understand that these are human beings and they are not, they would walk all over that law. They would not even like regard it, right? But if government, like, let them pass 1 million progressive laws and society is not changing or being educated, which is where the work of civil society becomes really important.
Okay, so last words from the both of you. Barrister Chika, what would you say? Would you say there's a headway or leeway within the legal context of judiciary? Would you say, as somebody who is litigating on behalf of minority groups, would you say there's still light at the end of the tunnel? Meaning, are there certain judges, certain lawyers who are becoming proactive to these issues? Because at the end of the day, we're all human and it's a human issue. Would you say that there's any form of progress from your time of experience starting litigation for minority persons till date?
Okay, basically, change is constant. Society is evolving, so things progresses on a daily basis. So I think there's a lead way, there's light at the end of the tunnel, because it's our human civilization. So the human civilization will get to the point where the society will be fully aware, tolerant, and accommodating, basically based on the role we're able to play today for tomorrow. Of course, in a democratic setting, the role of the civil society organizations cannot be cannot beat it down. They play a very important role, strategic role. In terms of laws, the international laws are there, the documents are there, the treaties and the conventions, they are meant to have legal backing, especially the treaties. You know, the civil society organizations can also bring these laws home. Yes, they do the review, they draw the attention to it, they said noted, but there could be a firework fire from one cylinder in Nigeria. Can push, who can approach the National Assembly. Section 12 of the Constitution empowers them to domesticate international treaties, especially where it suits our environment. So we can put pressure on these people to do the needful, can engage in campaigns, public sensitization, awareness, movie shows. We can take more. The law is meant to protect everybody, both the weak and the strong. There are instances where citizens engage in blackmails, exploitations, and setup, what we popularly call kitos. Now, we can beat a parallel system. Most times the victims don't want to go to the police station so that the cases wouldn't be turned against them. But there's an advancement in Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015 where the law made provision for direct criminal complaint. So I can file a direct criminal complaint against a person who exploited or blackmailed me. And the court can decide to summon the person, arrest the person, and go into the case where I have evidence to present. The court can at the same time refer the matter to police for investigation. At that point, the police doesn't have the power to detain you or to reject to investigate. They must investigate and give their reports. And before they even investigate, you would have tendered your own evidence in court. Then a copy of your copies of evidence will be forwarded to the police. So they cannot manipulate the evidence at that point. So these are steps we can take. There are certain advancements in law trying to accommodate issues like this, especially where the issue of funding can be breached to find a way. At times, some victims are poor people who can't even afford it. Most of them, they don't have privacy to even host people at their own homes, so they want to visit you. Now, unfortunately, they might run into blackmail. So we can take more steps. I wouldn't say there's no evidence to say we have where judges at. I shouldn't.
You never can tell.
Some of them are becoming aware, and if these cases come to their court, I'm sure they wouldn't want to treat it as something that serious. These are not serious cases. There's no victims. There are victimless offenses. You are the victim. So why should we entertain cases like this? So more lawyers are becoming aware, and more even where lawyers are trying to open up their, trying to come into the space.
Getting bold enough
to stand for their people. So it's a lot of progress. And of course, some judges are also guided by the law. They understand that it's not like jungle justice we practice in the society, where you catch a thief, you kill immediately. Some judges also know that even if the allegations and the evidence before the court is so heinous enough, judge will say, okay, no problem. The burden of proof is that he must put beyond reasonable doubt, and the burden lies on he who asserts. So the person who asserts must prove. Where he cannot prove, the body cannot shift to the person defending himself. And in criminal cases, there's no need of burden going to the victim. And just like he said, the issue of CAC, Corporate Affairs Commission, disturbing the organizations in this space. The truth is, we already have a judgment from the Federal High Court, Lagos. In the case of the Corporate Trustee of Equality Rights, Tears Against Federal Government of Nigeria, the court ruled that Section 4.1 and Section 5.1 and 2 of the Sentence Prohibition Act that has to do with the rights of civil society organizations to be incorporated, to disseminate and express, ideas and information, that those rights are constitutional rights. That is 83940 of the Constitution allows us to have freedom of thought, cultures and religion, freedom of expression, freedom of association. These things are basic fundamental rights. Even though they are not absolute, especially when it has to do with if they are reasonably unjustifiable with laws that has to do with public policy, morality, and public order. But having an organization that talks about the welfare, the awareness and sensitization of poor people, they don't break any law. So this judgment has been passed. 90 days or 3 months, as appeal as of right, in the lapse. Nobody has appealed against this. So the judgment is there. If these organizations are calling, we can present this judgment to the look.
That is the one that expunged Section 4 and 5, right?
So you tell them, look, these particular sections are no longer valid.
Yes, of course.
If you exclude the SSMPA, there's no law in Nigeria restraining organizations to force.
Exactly.
Present this fact to them. In terms of Same-Sex Marriage Prohibition Act, the National Assembly has the power to make laws for the whole Nigeria where it is exclusively reserved for them. With just the second schedule, part 1, number 61, National Assembly can make law with respect to formation of marriages, dissolution of marriages, excluding traditional marriages, Islamic marriages, which means same-sex people can still marry under customary law. Just marriage under the act. So if you marry, you cannot marry in churches. SSMPA say you cannot celebrate marriages in church or in mosque or any registered place of worship. So traditional marriages were not among. Islamic marriages are not among. In southern Nigeria, a woman can marry a woman. She can just, for purposes of marriage, so I want to get married to this lady to replace, maybe for the sake of my late son, is not against the SSNPA because the National Assembly does not have power to regulate traditional marriages. So if you have seen some queer marriages in Nigeria, so on marriages look local, they have to do traditional wedding. They don't violate any law. It's just a reality. And we have to exploit that aspect of it. Correct. Can't make law on that. And some states are really advanced, like Lagos State, they have their criminal law of 2011, which decriminalizes same-sex practices. So Lagos is naturally ahead, except the issue of SSMPA, because of the principles of doctrine of covering the field. But then, in Lagos State, you can still celebrate Islamic wedding and traditional wedding for same-sex people. Edo State is also very much advanced. Then, we can also move the lawmakers to amend the necessary laws. In Kaduna State, they have laws against cross-dressing, laws against transgender. The only state in Nigeria that did that. We can move the lawmakers to consider these things. These are human beings. Human rights, so long as my arm doesn't touch your own arm, I violate no law. My right starts where your own right stops.
Thank you very much. Last words for you, Justin.
So I just think that we should understand that the diversity within the society is what makes it a society. We are not going to be monotonous. We are not going to be a monolith. People have the right to exist and be who they are. And again, where does the place of self-determination comes in if people are not going to be able to express themselves? So I think what we should actually be aiming at is peaceful coexistence, and for also people to understand that there is no situation where violence is okay, right? Mob justice of any kind, blackmail and all of that. So people just we need to do more work to educate people around what the law says and all of that, because the situation in Warri where they arrested almost 215 started parading them up. That was a gross violation of human rights from
only to collect bribe at the end of the day.
Only to collect by the end of the day, yeah. So it's we need to know that we need to push strong, because I don't think that we are just in a roadblock. We have some enabling instruments like the laws, international communities, and all of that to support human rights activism. People, whenever you speak up for LGBTQI rights or women's rights, is either you're called a simp or you're called, now them gay. So people cannot advocate for people with pants anymore. So we need to actually learn that human rights is inalienable. The moment you start to clap down on the rights of a particular group, it's going to come back to you. People should be able to understand the interconnectedness of the human nature, right? I am because you are, the Ubuntu principle.
Yes.
If I'm not here, you might
not exist.
So yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. There you have it. We've had the most amazing conversation today regarding government policies and the legal context. When we talk about CAC issues with organizations, it is obvious that it is a redundant step, because why? There are already laws that exist that already expunge sections of the SSNPA that makes it null and void, meaning that organizations can exist, can register, associate, gather, and freely express themselves within any space. Also, we talk about human rights. It is inalienable, meaning you cannot take one away from the other. If you take one from the other, there's nothing on the table. Till we come back again, this is Abamiyaka, and this is Echoes of Color. Thank you.
Echoes of Color.